All right, guys, we are live. I'm not sure if Instagram's working, but I guess we'll just take it for what it is. Sending data, it says so. Oh, streaming. All right, we're good. All right, cool. Well, we're live, guys. How we doing? All right, here we
Doing
go.
well.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Outdoor Drive podcast. We have Joe Coy with us here on the Outdoor Drive. How are we, man?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, you know what? Honestly, cold heartedly, I'm actually thinking
What?
about cold
What?
heartedly. I think is the word I was trying to say.
Sounded like cold-heartedly.
Trev just likes to blend words together.
Yeah. I make my own words. Someday they're actually going to be in the Webster dictionary, but I'm not.
Hey, that's
It
right.
just,
Somebody's got to pave the way for them new words.
yeah, I guess, whoever said, I mean, everybody's innovative in their own way. Why can't I be
That's right.
innovative in my own words, right? So,
That's right.
anyways, sorry. Yep,
That's
that's
where
where
you're going.
this is where it starts. Well, guys,
Uh,
let's turn the key and let's get this underway. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
yeah. So I'm Joe. I'm marketing at Fourth Air Camera Arms. We have a few different companies there actually. So it's not only Fourth Air Camera Arms, but also we have Final Rush Shooting Systems, which kind of branched out from the camera arm side, and then we have WinScent, which is an electronic scent vaporizer. And then we have Tree Thrasher, and we have Slayer hunting blinds. So wear a lot of hats. We're kind of a family company. We're not massive, right? So you're that's kind of the fun thing with my job is you get your hands in a lot, and um, even on the marketing side, it's kind of fun to be able to be a part of it all. And I love to hunt. I grew up hunting and had the opportunity to come and work for Fourth Arrow, and yeah, it's a fun to wake up every day and work in an industry and in something that you love and you're passionate about.
That's awesome. Actually, it's kind of funny. Tree Thrasher. I remember when that came out originally. That's a really cool product. It's. I used to actually have that thing in the bag with me all the time.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if you ever met Todd, but
I
Todd
did.
Fringett was quite a guy. I unfortunately never met him, so it was actually there's kind of a crazy story behind where we ended up acquiring that product. But um, some of the guys from our team originally met him at the Harris Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg, um, and yeah, they loved the product, and it wasn't until like a year and a half ago where we kind of were bringing up the whole idea, like what happened to that? What happened to the tree thrasher? And kind of through some mutual connections, we were able to get in touch with Katie, Todd's wife, and kind of worked out something with that. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember when Todd was actually alive. He had passed away not too long after we had actually done a podcast with him. We were at the
Oh,
Iowa Deer Classic, and we did a podcast with him actually on my past endeavor, um, and it was about the tree thrasher. And actually, I'm sorry, Todd wasn't on it. Todd had just passed away, and it was the season before he had passed away, and told the story about what happened to Todd and so on and so forth, and then the product, and it's kind of crazy because that product is one of those products where like I think a lot of people would like look at it and be like, why would you ever want that or ever need that product? And
right.
it's actually, to be honest, it's a full circle where making that noise it's really true because there's a lot of us that are big time, grunt tube guys or rattling guys to make that full circle of noise. Like a lot of guys will set up and make, they'll have bags of leaves in their pockets or whatever to make that whole outlook and that full circle of noise in that time. I mean, I have a really good friend of mine that's a huge rattler. And a lot of his sets are set up with sticks and branches underneath it, and he has rocks on pulleys that smash into the rocks. And I mean, you're
Yep.
talking. I'm telling you right now, this dude's a killer. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, certified closet killer. I mean, and doesn't talk about these things. And when I saw Tree Thrasher, it kind of told the story and painted the whole entire picture. And I'm like, this is ingenious. And if you
Yeah.
look back on the trophies that Todd killed with that product, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and just knowing the way Todd hunted, and he pretty much only went after like the most mature bucks in the woods, and to see the results like that kind of speaks for itself. But yeah, it's kind of fun thing with that tree thrasher is a lot of people look at it like, what on the planet is that? But then you explain it to them, they're like, that makes so much sense. Like, why haven't I really thought of that before? When you can add in, you think about especially a mature buck that's been called out before. He's encountered hunters before,
Mm-hmm.
and if all he hears is you going, and just grunting, if he doesn't, he's looking for other ways which he could verify that there's actually
Right.
deer there, right? Oftentimes he's gonna try to go downwind sometimes, but sometimes he's walking away and you're trying to get him back in, or there's just so many scenarios where being able to make the sound like a deer's actually there, actually walking through the leaves or making a scrape, making a rub, putting all the pieces of that puzzle together just allow you to be so much more effective.
Joe, do you want to real quickly just describe the product? I'm familiar with it, and Trev is, but I imagine there's a lot of people listening right now, and they're like, "What are they talking about?"
Right. Yeah, for sure. So the tree thrasher, basically what it looks almost like a mini accordion, and you pull it in and out. And as you pull it in and out, it makes the sound of rustling leaves. So with that function of it, you can make the sound like a buck's walking through the woods. It's great. I love using it in conjunction with the grunt tube, where you can make it sound like even a buck's, hot on the tail of a doe, or and then also it's got a little clip on the back, which is really handy because you can actually clip it to your pants and then run it one-handed, which is pretty handy. With that clip, you can also make the sound of a breaking branch. And then also it's got, hence the name tree thrasher, it's got 3 little teeth on it where you can run that up and down the bark on a tree and make the sound like a buck's making a rub. So basically, it's a 3-in-1 call where you can make 3 unique sounds. And the beauty of it is when you can kind of put all of those together. Like, for example, Todd back in the day, he loved, not even using the grunt tube and just doing some really cool, bucks in there, just tearing away at a tree type sequence. Because when a buck's purposely making noise, it means he's comfortable in his environment. It's when he's perfectly silent and on edge and looking around, that's when, he's not comfortable, right? So when you can make it sound like there's a deer in there, he's relaxed, he's comfortable, he's doing his thing, it can make deer more comfortable and then make them curious and come in and want to check out and see what's going on.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because like think about it. When you're turkey hunting, what are you doing? You're scratching the leaves. You know what I'm saying, and painting that whole
Right.
picture. And like there's probably people out there like, nah, that's stupid. There's no need for that. But if you hunting a big mature buck, like
that's been grunted at his whole life.
Yeah. Yep.
Just grunt. Yep.
Yep.
It's nuts. If you can think whatever you want about the product, like go ahead, that's fine. Think whatever you want about it. Not my problem. I know that it works.
Yeah.
Like think about it like this: as us being, big time turkey hunters, there's times of just rustling leaves will make the turkeys gobble and come in because this is a natural thing. Like they're paying attention, their mind, their senses are all on these natural things that happen in the woods. Like when something is missing, you are in their living room. They understand and know what's happening there. So you start bringing those noises in, and it's crazy. People just really need to understand that this is a very good product. Like you're missing out. You really are. Like go and watch Todd's old videos. And
it's also very compact. Like I know maybe the way it's an accordion, but it compacts flat, like almost like a pancake, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's very small. I mean, overall, the size of it's yay big. So it's not you can pop it right in your pocket.
Yeah. If you're lugging rattling antlers to your tree stand, you could definitely carry a tree thrasher for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Well, not even that. It clips. You can clip it onto the backpack with the clip that's on it that for the stick break. I mean, it's just so simple. It's just it's kind of crazy. I'm really glad that that it's coming back and you guys
Yeah.
are have taken over the product because it makes sense and it's one of the products that I believe in. I mean that thing is in my pack every single year, every single season. I remember they gave me one back in the day, and I still carry that product every day. And it's funny, you know him too, Joe. Is Larry McCoy tells a story. We had him on the podcast. This is my past endeavor too. They were on East Coast, and he was telling the story about the bags of leaves, and he used to
Oh yeah,
carry around leaves. I mean, it's just crazy. It's
yeah,
nuts. It
yep,
really
yeah.
is.
Larry's absolutely loved the call too. And yeah, he's like, man, I guess I don't have to carry my bag of leaves anymore. This is so much better. uh,
Exactly. Well, that's just a little bit about what you guys actually do. So why don't we break into some of the other products that you guys do offer, camera arms and stuff like that, kind of through the line, because there's a mix match throughout from the satellite all the way up to some of these higher end, professional arms.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So, and that's the thing when it comes to the whole filming side. And over the years, we've kind of tried to expand to be able to offer something. Whether you're just a beginner starting out and you just want to start filming with your cell phone, or you're a pro level guy and you have a TV show on the outdoor channel. We wanted to be able to cover that entire gamut across the spectrum. And then not only when it comes to like skill level, but also the ways people hunt, right? Because not everybody hunts out of a ladder stand. You got so many guys hunting out of a saddle or guys hunting out of a ground blind. So we we basically now we have an offering for pretty much your skill level or however you hunt. We're gonna have an option for you. So
That's pretty cool. Like especially the saddle mobile hunting guys, like those guys, that's a huge thing now. Self filming, content created, like, lighter packed and it's tough because, you know, we we've been saddle hunting now for quite some time and filming on that also and done a ton of that. And it's like when you go saddle hunting, you go to lessen your load carried in your backpack. But then when you're a content creator or filmer, like you start to add back that same weight and you're back up to that point. When I started filming, I'm carrying bigger arms. I'm trying to saddle hunt. I might as well be carrying two climbers with me. I mean, virtually, right?
yeah,
And then
right.
now they're
Yep.
starting to come out with these lighter, more versatile camera arms to be able to make yourselves a little bit lighter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's the thing too. When it comes to filming, like it's going to be more work, right? It's good no matter what you do, no matter how light make your equipment. It's going to be a little more work, right? And it's our goal to make it as easy as possible, right? Because if it's too much work, you're not going to want to do it long term. You talk to guys like, oh yeah, I filmed for a while, but they didn't get their process down to the point where they could enjoy it more, right? So that's really our goal with the arms that we offer is you want to make it light, you want to make it streamlined and easy to film so that you do enjoy it because there's so many benefits to filming, right? From even number one, just like being able to review, your shot placement on your animal, right? Because it happens so fast when you shoot that animal, like, okay, where did I hit him, right? And then also just be able to preserve those memories. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I mean, you definitely you brought up a very valid point because a lot of people just give it up. They're like, "Oh yeah, I filmed," but there's a dedication aspect. Like that film comes first. Like that camera is your number one priority, and if you don't have that priority of having it as your number one, you're very shortly going to give it away. Like you're just gonna say, and you see it all the time, guys selling camera arms, selling cameras, it's a lot of work, and there's there has to be a devotion to that camera, and that camera is your best friend. And people, a lot of guys don't get it is talking to that camera. They're like, I don't feel comfortable talking to the camera. Well, you have to, like, that's just part of the game. And it's, you don't want to sound cheesy and you don't want to, you know what I'm saying? And some people get it and some people don't. I mean, it's part of the game, but it's tough. It is tough. I get it and understand it. I mean, there was times when I started and I'm like, yep, that camera can go in the trash can because I am over.
You,
uh,
you know what's really good for getting over talking to the cameras? long, slow days turkey hunting when you put miles on because you find yourself just talking to the camera all day because you're just out there
Right.
by yourself, like, hey, what's up, buddy? So what do you want to do
Yeah.
next?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're on the show alone. You're just
Yeah, exactly.
What was
yeah.
that? What was that dude that went on the island with he had Wilson with him? That's what I feel
Oh, yeah,
like.
Castaway.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And he had the
Oh
volleyball
yeah.
Wilson. He's like, Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I mean, when it comes to filming though, like I remember the first, actually my first self-filmed archery kill was a bear hunt in Saskatchewan. And like when all of that comes together, it's so rewarding. And that's what gets you hooked, right? It's so much fun to be able to share that like experience with other people. Like, yeah, it's one thing to tell somebody what happened. It's another thing when you can show them and like, especially when you can put some second angle cameras in there and make somebody feel like they're in the tree stand with you. Like that just takes it to the whole nother level. And it's so rewarding when it all works out.
It's so true. And then to go back and just watch some of that, that footage is incredible. Like there's times that, I'll sit in the studio and I'll literally just look at old hunts and just
Right.
watch over them. Or, one of the things is, the next generation to be able to share those hunts, like this is what happened. This is what it's all about.
Oh,
And,
dude, I'd do anything to see some of, like my great grandpa going up to the UP to hunt deer, there wasn't the Mackinac Bridge yet. So, right, they ferried across and like, I would have loved to be able to, see that experience. Right. But I can't.
it's kind of funny is we do a ton of youth filming, right? Filming turkey hunts and stuff because getting us fired up for the season, practicing with the camera, kind of getting just that acclimation back to reality of filming. And it's funny as I look back on some of these films and I'm like, I wish when I was a kid killing stuff that I had a camera with me because to be able to
Oh
watch back
yeah.
in that, like, oh my God, even just I have enjoyment myself just killing does on camera. Like
Right.
it's just a blast. It
Yep.
really is. It really is. So why don't we dive into the fact of or you know tell us a little bit about, Fourth Arrow, where it started and to where it's become today.
Yeah. So, kind of the story, as far as where it started, also kind of ties into the story of one of our other brands. So, um, we actually ended up creating the camera arms because we were trying to film our Winsent product line back in the very early days of the Winsent. So, um, back in those days, we're like, okay, we have a product that we're trying to film and get out there and get some cool footage for and get some animal interactions with our Winsent unit, our electronic scent vaporizer. And a lot of the arms we were using back then, they were just big, they were bulky. And a lot of us in our group primarily hunt private land. And so we're going back to the same sets on a consistent basis. Um, and like, oh, it's such a pain to have to carry like the entire setup with you every single time. And we're like, oh man, it'd be so cool to be able to leave a base in this tree, right? But the arms we were using, it wasn't affordable. It wasn't, realistic to be able to do that, right? Um, so yeah, over the course of time, we started kind of playing with some of our own designs and putting some things together. So really, it was us trying to film another product that we were trying to develop, and we're like, oh, there's got to be a better way to film hunts. Like, what if we create a camera arm system that instead of having the leveling system as built into the base, which makes it expensive and not ideal for leaving in your tree all season long. What if you separate the leveling component from the part that straps to the tree, and then I can strap a very simple and an inexpensive base to a tree and leave it all year, all season, and then I can come in and drop my leveling system in. And then also the other thing that was frustrating was a lot of the arms that were out there. There was so much that was lacking as far as ease of levelability. So that kind of comes where we came up with the ball joint basically system, right? So you have basically 360-degree leveling, which to us was huge. That makes some of the big oak trees we'd hunt out of sometimes you don't want to mount your system straight behind you. Sometimes it's better to even come off of a branch coming off to your right, that might be at a 45-degree angle or something, and be able to have a system that could even mount and level to that was something cool too. So yeah, it's kind of funny because the product that we were creating, a camera arm, so we could make it easier to film, the camera arm was the thing that actually took off first and really ramped up quickly. So yeah, it's been a fun journey, and be able to continue to try to innovate. It's challenging too, because you're always trying to, everybody wants lighter, but also you don't want to sacrifice that stability, right? So there's always things you're playing with and give and takes you're trying to do. But no, it's been fun.
And you're right, because when you start to get into them lighter arms, you start to lose, you start to get bounce, you start to get wobble, you start to get,
Right.
One of the things is, at one point, so I've probably been filming six years, something like that. And the thing is that I started to use some of the smaller arms, and I was like, you know what, I'll do the cell phone, or I'll do the GoPro. And, you start to get into that, and you're like, I don't know if I want to carry that camera. Like, going back to what I was saying, like all that weight. You really, the smallest thing that you can honestly film with is like what we film with, the AX53s. I mean, if you start to go anything smaller than that, you start to lose quality, you start to the zoom focus. I mean, you're really not getting what you need to put out a good product. I mean, a good production, honestly, because
Right. Yep.
you can do it with your phone, you can do it with a GoPro, but when you start to like zoom in and stuff, it starts to pixelate. You're not getting that quality. I mean, the cameras that we use are 4K. They're small. They're a couple pounds. They're really not that big of a deal. Kind of a pain in the butt to use if you're not, to having the tree and set up. But like, it's it's really worth it.
I think we skipped over a key part here, though, the ease of setting up, because when I went to the Fourth Arrow this year, I've used a couple different camera arms the last couple of years. And to me, packing in is not the end of the world once you get your system dialed in, like how everything goes in your backpack. Setting up that camera arm every freaking day in November and tearing it down and then getting up the next morning and we're fully mobile, right? So we're hanging our sticks, we're hanging our platform, we're hanging our gear straps, we're hanging our bows. Hanging the camera is by far the worst part, right? And the way Fourth Arrow does it with that separate bracket, and you just put it on there, strap it on, and then drop your arm on, completely sold right there. Because the days of me trying to hold the arm with my chest so it's not sagging until I pull up the slack, like, screw all that stuff,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, you want it to be quiet and you want it to be quick. There's few times I've gotten up in the tree, and as I'm setting up my camera, I'm like, yep, the deer are starting to move. I should have been in here sooner.
I don't know if it's in my head because it doesn't even make sense, but sometimes I feel like before I had a Fourth Arrow, I feel like it took me longer to set my camera arm and my camera than it took me to get up the tree on my platform. Like, I don't know why, but it seems like it like doubled my whole, like it'd just be so much simpler to just not have the camera arm. But like I said, the way that bracket goes on now, it's just like, it's on, drop it on, and you're in the game, man.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I remember the days of the ones that didn't have a separate base, and the thing would like, the arm would come out and you're like,
yeah.
And like, bro, at 4 a.m, you're like, what in this box? This sucks. Or the best thing is like not having when they first started coming out with camera arms and they don't have a level on them, which you wouldn't think it's that big of a deal. Like, within a little bit, it's not a big deal. But when you start filming and you start rolling out and it looks like,
the horizon lines like this.
Yeah. Or sitting there like cranking on a knob and you got to use, like, I try not to use my headlamp at all. Like, I can usually hang with no light, but then you're like, you still got to see that bubble. And like, at least with the Fourth Arrow, it's quick, right? Like, you loosen it up, you're level and you're tight. It takes seconds to level it. But some of the mobile are just sitting there cranking the knob, checking the bubble, crank the knob, checking the bubble. Like, no. Like
Yeah,
it's just so
exactly.
much simpler now.
Yep, absolutely.
Why don't you tear right into the wind sense? I'm actually super, I'm intrigued by this, honestly.
Yeah, so the Winsent side, um, that's been a really, really cool product that's really, really taken off. And the whole concept behind it is so um, our owner, he he is yeah, diehard hunter, and he was watching all these guys kind of back when vaping started to become, kind of a big thing. And he'd go outside of a restaurant and there'd be somebody all the way across the parking lot vaping. And if the wind was right, you could smell it. Like, oh, smell that guy vaping way over there. It's like, man, what happens if you put deer pee in a vape? That's literally how the whole thing started. And so it wasn't too long. We had a working prototype, and then it was like, okay, this is great, but what if we had a remote control to this, right? And you can basically control when and how you want your scent to be released. And so it was it's super cool thing. And the whole idea behind it is with scent, if it's cold out, that scent's going to freeze, right? If it's too warm, traditional scents, that are water based and just sitting there, they're going to evaporate quickly, and then it's not going to be as effective anymore. With the wind scent, however, you're heating the scent up, so it's similar to, if you walk inside after somebody just baked an apple pie, that aroma fills the entire house, right? Versus if there's been a pie sitting on the counter for 3 days, you wouldn't even smell it when you walked in the door, right? And it's a similar concept with that is you're heating it up and vaping it out, and the vapor actually it carries with the wind a long ways, and it basically creates like a scent trail in the form of a cone, the way that the wind's blowing. And in the early days of wind scent, we I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tracker John, but he's pretty big tracking dog guy, from Illinois and kind of that area. And so he was willing to take our wind scent unit out, and we were running a donut shop scent, which we use for bear hunting. And he set it up just a random spot in the woods, and then just took his dogs for a casual walk through the woods. And it was really funny to watch all of a sudden those dogs about 300 yards away were like, they smelled the scent and they tracked it back right to the unit. And it was kind of funny because sometimes the wind would shift and they would kind of lose it for a second, but they like knew it was there. And then the wind would shift back and they'd be right back on the trail. And they tracked that thing from 300 yards all the way to the unit. And that was, to us, was like, oh wow, this is incredible. We know how good deer's noses are. If we can get that scent up into the air to track them in, with something like that, it's super cool. So we have a ton of different scents now, from deer hunting, your doe and heat, your buck and rut. We've got different blends of, combinations of scents, a ton of cover scents. Cover scents have been huge for us as well. Guys have had really good success with that as well. And then we've got, coyote hunting scents, bear. So we've got a whole array, elk hunting scents, for the wind scent units. So it's pretty cool.
So I'm kind of, I'm a little torn on the whole scent thing, right? Like it's always been one of those things that's kind of like in the back of my mind. Like, yeah, I kind of sometimes will run them, like in that rut time because it doesn't matter. Like that deer can come from virtually anywhere. But one of the big things
Right.
that we do is hunt the wind, right? So like when you're running a wind scent, so that wind is typically in your face or quartering wind, and now your scent's carrying there, and then now you have that scent going. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
kind of like
Right.
I don't know. It seems like kind of like a double-edged sword.
Right. And that's the interesting thing too, which a lot of guys are like, okay, well, where do I place this unit? So if I religiously use our wind scent unit as a cover scent. So in that scenario, I'll run it up in the tree with me. And a lot of guys, especially early season, they just want to go in and out undetected, right? And that's why I usually use really subtle, just cover scents. The one I like to use the most is our P7 Sanctuary, similar to Conquest Evercalm. So it's designed to replicate like a doe bedding area. So it's got earthy tones with a little blend of like a doe urine, right? So it's super neutral. It's nothing that's gonna, It's going to make deer feel more relaxed. There's been a lot of times too running that where I've had deer go downwind and like they can tell something's up, but they stayed calm and just kind of worked their way through. And that's really the goal behind a cover scent. You're never going to be able to perfectly get rid of your scent. We all try, but it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
And then you can add just a little bit of layer to help mask your scent. I think it's super effective. And then on the attractant scent side, when you do hunt with that wind in your face, really what you're going to then do is you're going to want to put that unit away from you, hence the remote control, right? So what a lot of guys will do, they'll put that unit 30 yards away, like at a 45-degree angle from them, where they're facing, either right or left, so that scent is getting carried downwind, not the same area that their scent is. And that way, if a deer does cross that trail, I don't know how many guys have said, dude, as soon as that deer got downwind of the unit, it fouled that scent source up, right? So what you're effectively doing there is the deer is going to hit downwind of the unit before it hits your downwind, right? So that's kind of the goal, to bring him into that point. And then if it's more of a calm day where scent's just kind of drifting around everywhere, it becomes pretty potent in that general area too. So that's kind of how we recommend people set it up when they're using it, for an attractant.
Yeah. No, and that makes absolute sense, where you're not gonna put a scent that they're gonna come right to you. It's
Right.
more like using the other thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those things. And the cover scent is a great thing. I mean, you don't really need to have those, the rut scents, the buck and the doe and stuff. But that cover scent is always, just to, some of the things we use, like hemlocks and pine. We have a lot of stuff. So like it's just a good calming scent. You're not gonna stop the scent of a deer. Forget it. Guys try to do that breaking out of jail for millions of years, but they still get tracked down by a dog, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the range on the remote?
About 30 yards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is it? Is everything like, what is it? Rechargeable USB or battery?
So the wind scent unit itself, the cool thing with it too is it's got awesome longevity as far as the scents go, the battery life. So it's got a rechargeable battery, lasts up to 20 hours on a charge for the wind scent unit itself. It's got a USB port in the back. You just plug it in, charge it, so you can charge it in your truck, charge it at home, whatever. And then each scent cartridge is its own unique scent cartridge. So you don't have to deal with bottles of scent. So it's super clean. You're not dealing with messy scents. They all come pre-filled. And you just literally screw them on top of the unit. So each scent cartridge, so the unit itself, it's on a timer. It's either going to vape every minute or every 3 minutes. So when it goes off and it does it kind of like a 5-second burst of vapor, when it does that every 3 minutes, each scent cartridge will last up to 40 hours. So like you get a lot of use out of each one, versus, a bottle of scent that you just end up dumping on the ground or whatever, I only go through a few cartridges in the season unless I'm really going crazy with it.
Right. That's crazy though. And then one of the things with the vape is you have that it's water, where it's vapor, so it sticks to the molecules in the air a lot better than a lot of other things. Like there's the other one that kind of sticks to mind is Heated Hunts, right? They have one of the like a heated scent dispenser, and it's kind of along the same lines, where it's actually heated up and it spreads because it's heated, and it's kind of like a live deer or whatever the case may be. But like the water vapor aspect, like sticking to those molecules of the air, like that's huge. Like that's something that like it can, like you said, can go for miles. Like how many people are, smoking a vape and you're like, what is that strawberry custard over there? Like, and exactly what it is. Like if it's anything else, you kind of smell a little faintness of it, but with the water vapor, you actually get hit with the actual smell of what it actually is, which is could only imagine if we can smell it. What do you think the deer are smelling?
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. So you turn it on. You can turn it on with the remote, right? So
correct.
And then you have a setting for once every minute or once every 3 minutes. But
correct.
You do not have the option to, like, say, right now. You can't tell it when to do it.
So you can. So basically, with the remote control, it's got 3 buttons on it. You got the 1-minute mode, the 3-minute mode, and then pause, which puts it on standby. So at all times, it's either going to be on one of those modes, right? But if you want it to go right now, you can just push the 1-minute mode or the 3-minute mode button, and it will go off that second.
Okay, cool.
So,
and then you can just
if you
can just pause it. Yeah.
Right. Or then you can pause it. Yeah. Some guys, what they'll do is like, oh, I just want to put out a couple bursts of vapor, every once in a while. They'll just leave it on pause. They'll hit it a few times, let it go off a few times, and then
pause it again. That's all right. That's cool right there. Yeah. I like that.
That's it's honestly a smart thing. So what's
I see myself a Bucks cruising the ridge above me, and I'm like pushing
wind switch.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to invent a fan to put next to it so we can actually like turn the fan way like.
Yeah, how do we control the thermals ourselves and create wind currents and oh no, gear's going downwind. Let's switch the wind direction.
I wish. Do you know how many more animals would die that way if we could control that thing? To be honest, 95% of us can't even grasp what a thermal actually is or what it does. Like, it's kind of sad. It really is. What's some of the other products that you guys offer within the umbrella?
Yeah, so another one of our bigger ones would be the Final Rest shooting systems, which there's kind of a story behind where that all came to be as well. So our owner was taking his dad out on a hunt, and his dad was getting up in years. This is probably 2 or 3 years before his dad actually passed. But so he was hunting with a crossbow, and our owner was filming him, and they had a deer come in, and the owner's dad shot at a buck and missed him, and then he says to his son, he's like, "Hey, why don't you let me?" So in that blind, our owner, he had one of our fixed blind base mounts coming off of the blind wall. It was just like a homemade wooden blind, and he had one of our Rex arms, I believe, coming off of the wall, and he had his camera system mounted on that. So then the owner's dad was like, "Why don't you let me rest my crossbow on your camera system there?" And that's one of those like light bulb moments. Like, we already have basically half of the infrastructure there, right? Well, what if we just swap that video head out for something that would hold the weapon, right? So, and we already had those things in place, right? Whether it's from that ground blind where you can have a system that's wall mounted, right? Because there's really no other shooting rest out there that you can just screw to a wall on a blind and have a double or a triple arm coming off the wall and having a shooting rest coming off it that doesn't take up any leg room. We've all hunted with tripods in the blind, and we know how annoying that can be, right? You're bumping into the legs. If you need to move, it's real inconvenience, right? So basically, we kind of took what we learned from the stabilizing a camera system and basically just reapplied that to, well, let's put a gun on it, or let's put a crossbow on that. So it's been really fun. A lot of the things we've been able to do with that. So right now we have kind of a full array of different types of shooting rests, from our fixed blind mounts, which just have that simple screw-in bracket and then has an arm that comes out from the wall. And then you can mount, we've got actually a couple of different platforms. We have like a double yoke shooting rest system. So it's kind of got a long plane and a Y and a V yoke on it, so you can drop your rifle or crossbow into that. We also have our grip and rip, we call it, very similar to some other gun clamp style rests that are out there. We also have our flex and rip, which basically has flexible yokes, which is super lightweight and cool. So, and then also the other application, right? We have what we call our pillar systems, which they work both in a ground blind as well as in a ladder stand. So, for example, there are certain blinds that you don't want to screw something into the wall, or it might be a blind that it might be of a fiberglass exterior or some type of frame that's not super solid, and it wouldn't be able to take the torque of mounting a whole gun off of the, fully supported off the wall. So we have what's called our pillar system, which, if you can imagine a monopod with a C clamp attached toward the top, and with that C clamp, you just clamp that to a shelf, clamp that to part of the wall, and then with that system, with that monopod going and contacting the ground on the bottom, a lot of the weight and force is getting transferred to the ground, and then the blind is only having to support that, that upper top motion. So with that system, you can also mount it to like a ladder stand, where it will clamp to a shooting rail or a side support rail on a ladder stand, and you can use it up in a tree that way. So yeah, that's another application. The other one, we have roll bar mounted systems for guys like down in Texas that want to shoot off a side by side, or for, more mobility limited hunters that are able to use that type of stuff, up here. And then we also have, of course, the standard, tripod systems for guys, just hunting off the ground or coyote hunting and all that. So.
Wow. So so you do make one for off the ground?
Yes. Yep.
Like turkey hunting or something like that, where if you had youth or, women, whatever, that couldn't really hold up the gun, that would be a kind of one of those things.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
That's super.
Yeah, a lot of guys for coyote hunting too, that's really, really helpful, especially if you're sitting there, you're sitting there looking through your thermals, or, waiting for a coyote to come in. It's nice to have your gun set up, ready to go, especially when you're taking some of those longer pokes.
That's bad.
I need one that comes off of my tripod my camera's on for turkey hunting, so it can hold my gun up while I'm screwing with the camera at the same time.
Just wait. I can't say anything more.
I like it. I like it because I'll tell you what, self filming and killing turkeys at the same time is probably one of the hardest things I have ever done in my life.
Dude, yeah, I can second that.
the most of it's pretty easy until you can see the bird. As soon as I can see the bird, wherever the camera is, it's pretty much staying there, and all I can care about at that moment is the gun. But I mean, it is tough.
Yeah,
it's
tough. The last bird that I self filmed and got. Thankfully, I had a bush that was like right in front of me that was blocking me pretty well, and I was just sitting on the ground. I was running our monopod stake system, which just stakes right in the ground. I have that kind of set up to my right, and this bird came in like stupid close. But the thing was, I could have shot it through the bush, but it would have been terrible footage. So he finally starts to come where I could get video of him, but he's at like 7 yards. And I'm like trying to hold still. And then he finally moves, kind of starting to be away from the bush. But before he did that movement, I tried to anticipate the movement and move my camera where I thought he was going to go. Luckily, he went that way. But yeah, he started clucking and acting nervous before he got some shot through his head. But.
And that's one of the things that's sitting on the ground. Like when they come in, like you have the camera, like I put it over one leg. So I have the camera over one leg and I'm there, and then, the gun is right there. So I have the gun up and I'm holding it with one hand. I have it tucked into the shoulder and I'm rolling around on the camera, and then I move. But when you go to move, the first thing they do is they put their head up like this. And every single, any bird that I ever kill, their head is wide up like this. Like it's going to happen, and then done. But that's a tough thing to do, man. Like if you, like you said, if there was something on the camera to hold it and then do it, then I think that would be
just to keep the gun up, man, like in the same direction the camera's pointing. Then you're that much closer to just transition over to the stock, and I'm excited now.
One of the products that you just came out with not all that long ago was for the second angle for, the clip-on of the GoPro, which is a game changer, man. Like that's one of the things that I've done for quite some time. Was GoPro makes one, but it's like a slinky arm type thing, and it makes a lot of noise moving it back and forth. So that one's clipped onto my pod, but I saw yours, and your guys is just a little bit different. I think you could be used in multiple applications as a second camera.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I used So basically what it is, a lot of people call it like a gooseneck style of like POV mount. And you can put, GoPro, Ace Pro, Tacticam, whatever you want to put on it. And it's basically got a nice clamp on it. So it's easy to clamp onto, your tree stand, onto a branch, onto bow hanger, whatever you want to clamp it on, where it's really nice for that. But like I've been using that style for several years. The thing that was always annoying to me was, especially when it's cold out, nice cold November morning, you're sitting there flexing that thing, trying to get it in the right position, and it's going creak, creak, creak. And we've been looking into creating one for a little while, trying to figure out the best way to do it. That's going to be durable, that's going to stay in position once you get that position, but yet it's not going to make any noise. And yeah, I was super excited when we came up with the one we are currently offering. It's perfectly silent. Like it doesn't make any noise when you're flexing it around. It stays really well. Like once you find your position, you don't have to like over adjust it. You can just bend it and flex it around the position that you need. I've even used that similar mount for like, I'm on the ground and I'm quick stalking something with my bow, and I'd be able to even clip that onto my bow. And there's a lot of applications that it's really handy just to have a quick way to mount your GoPro or whatever POV camera you're using on anything. So
Even though how I kind of thought about it with it having that little bit longer, a little bit longer neck on it, I guess we say, than the gooseneck one from GoPro itself, is the over the shoulder. Like clipping it on the backpack and having it over the shoulder kind of as that second, because we do a lot of snow tracking and stuff late
oh
season,
yeah, yep.
that like it would be huge for us. Or even walking in and kind of, like we have that guerrilla style filming where like it's just kind of like cut and paste and kind of go, but it's more of that we try to teach as we go, like what we're doing.
Mhm.
So I think like that over the shoulder, like, hey, I'm gonna make a move on this bird. We're gonna go up here and still have that sound with the video kind of thing kind of works, or setting tree stands or cameras or whatever the case may be. Over the shoulder, I think would be a great application for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of fun creative things you can do with it. So
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's absolutely awesome. Joe, is there anything that we didn't touch on that maybe you might want to touch on? I know this is kind of going by a lot faster than I thought it was going.
yeah, it's been a good time. I mean, the only other things, if we wanted just to briefly kind of go through some of that spectrum of, the camera arms that we do have at Fourth Arrow, we could just kind of briefly touch on that.
I mean, we could spend as much time as you want on them. I mean, honestly, that's what the podcast was supposed to be about. And then we
Yeah,
got
I know. I feel like we've
I
gone
was
on a lot of
laughing when we
tangents.
went right to the sense. I was like, wait, we're done talking about camera arms?
I know, right? Yeah. Well, I'll just kind of run us through some of our different options, right? I know I kind of, you know, explain, our different categories and that type of thing, but yeah, I mean, since we're kind of still in turkey season, I'll just kind of briefly go through some of those options. I know I mentioned I use a lot our monopod stake system. So basically, imagine a regular monopod, and on the bottom put like a 6-inch stake, right, with a foot plate that you can stake that into the ground. So, in Michigan where I'm at works really well. There might be some parts of the country that are really rocky where the soil is super hard that might not be ideal for. But if you're in a place, or even if you're in the hardwoods where it's really easy to get some stuff into the ground, usually, that's a great option. Like I'm usually more of a run and gun style turkey hunter. So for me to have something when I am self filming that's super light, and it's just a lot easier to have to manage a whole tripod, right? Um, then a couple other options that we have on the turkey side um, would be like, let's say you are using a tripod, and you're hunting out of a pop up blind. One of the annoying things is, oh, that turkey went in the blind spot of the blind between my two windows. Like, how do I film them there, right? You can move your tripod over, but that can become, annoying. So we have what's called a Rex arm, which basically is a single piece 10-inch arm that you can mount directly to the top of your tripod. And then that gives you 20 inches of motion to go left and right. So you don't have to move your tripod. So it gives you just a lot of flexibility in the blind. So that's another thing that we offer. The other thing we offer, which we're actually out of stock on, unfortunately, right now, but should have some more coming back in soon, is what we call our pillar kit, which we have a pop-up blind adapter for it as well. So basically, if you can imagine mounting your monopod directly to the sidewall of a hub style pop-up blind, and instead of having a tripod in your blind, you can use basically the structure of the blind itself to support your camera system. So that's another cool one when it comes to the turkey side. And then kind of moving on to the you know, the deer hunting side, the, you know, filming from a tree side. We've got a lot of different options. Kind of our entry level, you know, beginner option would be what we call our baton arm. It retails at $100, so it's like really affordable for anybody to pick up and start filming with. You can get it with our mini head and our phone mount if you just want to film with your cell phone. So that's a great option when it comes to guys just want to start out, you know, get their feet wet filming. And then kind of from there, we have our Stiff Arm Pro, which is more for, you know, guys hunting out of a ladder stand, hang on, that type of thing. And that one has our bases that can mount to each tree, and you can leave those bases in there and have those preset. That one has our 360-degree leveling with our whole shoulder and all that. So that one's rated for like 10 pounds. So that one before we had our baton arm was kind of our main, you know, beginner, you know, into intermediate, you know, camera arm. Hey, now we can see it, Trevor.
Yeah, it was getting a little dark in here, and I was like, nobody can see me. I better turn on some of my lights.
Who's the man in the shadows over there? Yeah. Then when it comes to the very similar arm to our stiff arm would be our Stiff Arm Ghost. It's a little bit longer version, a little bit more lightweight. It's kind of got a cool design. Got a bunch of holes etched in it. Kind of looks like an M-LOK rail, if you can picture that. And that all uses the same base as the stiff arm. Then we have our triple arm, which gives you a little more reach, a little more flexibility. Also another great option for guys, you know, ladder stand, hang on. When it comes to the saddle side, which those arms have been super popular for us last several years. Our more recent release when it comes to that is called our satellite arm. And that thing is super light, only rated up for 5 pounds. So for the guys running bigger camera setups, not ideal for them. But for guys running, you know, up to a small to medium sized handy cam, that thing is awesome. It's super light, super easy leveling. And then for the guys running a little bit bigger setups, we have the Micro Triple Arm, which I know you guys are running, the Talon Micro Triple Arm.
So I have the triple arm.
Yep.
Steve actually has he's running the satellite, actually.
Oh, you are running the satellite?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which I love that. I love that arm. That thing's awesome.
I try to run, you know, being public land, you know, going deep, saddle hunt. I try to stay as small, light, and compact as I possibly can without sacrificing quality, you know?
Right. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, like the whole weight on the satellite arm's like 2 pounds, 6 ounces. So like, and it's a 3-section arm. So that's a nice thing about it is you can get, it's compact. You can, you know, cross between you and the tree under your bridge really easily. It's got plenty of reach. And it packs in so small because of that 3-section design. So,
right.
But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the main camera arms. We also have our Stiff Arm Pro, which is more for guys, you know, using big cinema cameras and all that, which I'm glad I don't have to carry to the woods each time. And then from there, kind of the rest of the stuff from, you know, we've got video heads, we've got, you know, other accessories and stuff, some different POV mounts, POV stakes, POV mini tripods. Those are really fun during turkey season I love putting out like the GoPro next to the decoys and stuff. So those are always fun accessories. So yeah, just kind of have that full range of products, no matter, you know, your level or how you hunt. So
one accessory I did pick up from you, and you're gonna have to help me out because I don't know what it's called, but I bought that bracket that bolts onto a ladder stand rail.
Yes, the Rexarm rail mount.
and then I can actually drop my satellite arm onto that.
Yes. Yes.
So, and the main reason I got that is I have a bear hunt coming up in a couple weeks in Canada, and I'll be hunting out of a ladder stand for that. So I wanted the option. Maybe I'm going to mount my camera to a tree. Maybe I'm going to want to, mount it to the tree stand. I won't really know till I get in the tree. But
Right.
it's nice to have that option, and especially for the guys, like I'll still deer hunt out of a ladder stand. So it's nice to be able to have my satellite, be able to go saddle hunt in a tree and have it in front of me.
Right.
The next day I might be in a ladder stand and I can drop it right onto the ladder and still use the same camera arm.
Right. Yeah, and that's the one thing too that I get a lot of guys reaching out and they're like, "Hey, I saddle hunt, but I also tree stand hunt. Like, what arm should I get?" Right? And that's such a tricky thing because
Mm-hmm.
you know I know guys that saddle hunt with a stiff arm, but it's not ideal. It's just a little
Mm-mm.
long. It can be painful. So I feel like most guys,
R-
as long as they're saddle hunting close to 50% of the time, usually get a saddle oriented camera arm. But
Right.
yeah, the rail mount on our website, it works great for ladder stands that have a sturdy rail to mount to. Also works really well for climber stands.
Mm.
Like I have a Summit climber that I use it with, and it works great. So basically, there's two different ways you can use it. We sell it as a kit with our Rex arm, and we have basically on the top of it, basically it clamps to the rail on your stand, and on top it's got a 3/8 stud coming up, and you can either mount what's called our tripod adapter on top, which would receive like our stiff arm, our Rex arm, our micro triple arm, most of our standard camera arms that you can mount, do it with that. Then if you have the satellite arm, instead of, so basically most of our camera arms have a down post that go into a hole. Our satellite arm, however, has on the base, it has an up post and then it has a hole on the arm instead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for the satellite arm, we just have a little adapter that you can screw right on there and run the satellite arm off it as well. So
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I tell you
awesome.
this. I went to the your guys' Fluid Head this year, and I will say this, that it's almost too good. I was I was filming a youth hunt a couple weeks ago, and I had it in my hand. You know how, like, so I'm holding it. I got the hunter next to me. And I got the the remote, and I'm going like this, and he shot, and I jerked like this, and the thing went. Whoop. It's like
it was smooth. It was smooth.
it was very
Smooth.
very smooth, and then I just kind of like, oh, worked it back.
Oh yeah.
You know how that goes, because I was like,
Yeah.
it scared me. I didn't realize he was going to shoot at that moment, and I'm like, oh, and I just like
Yeah.
jumped and scared myself. So
Yeah.
it was cool.
Yeah. I took the field production course that Nick and Tom Become One run. And I took their field production course. One of the things that they try to stress is try to communicate. If you're filming someone else, communicate with when they're actually going to shoot. Take the hands off the camera because you will bump it.
Yeah.
And that's the part everybody wants to see. You don't want to mess that part up.
Yep, the most important part. Actually, it's kind of funny, and huge shout out to Chris. That's actually how the two of us got in connection,
Yeah.
because you had taken the class with Chris, and Chris was like, "Hey,
Yep.
I got a good buddy Joe," and it kind of worked out. It was kind of
Yep.
we're actually super excited, and I think we got some really cool things to come for the season.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Joe, I got one last question. We ask everybody. You may or may not know this. We want to know what drives you outdoors.
Oh man.
You know? No.
I didn't actually premeditate this one. So
That's good.
no, man, I love just experiencing, all that you get to see out in the woods. Like, it's not, I like killing stuff, but it's not just about the kill either. And man, some of those experiences I've had in the woods, you don't get those sitting on the couch. You don't get those watching Netflix, right? There's just experiencing God's creation out there is just something I love, and just the thrill of the chase too, right? Trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together to try to kill a mature animal, they can drive you nuts. But it's a fun challenge. So
Absolutely. Well, Joe, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, or they find Fourth Arrow and kind of follow along, or if they want to go and check out products or reviews or whatever.
yeah, so if you go to fourtharrow.com, um, that has links basically to all our different other websites. You can check everything out there. Of course, we're on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, all the socials if you want to check us out there as well.
Awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate you jumping on, and kind of partnering up with us for the season. We're looking forward to it and putting it to the test. We'll have some reviews and some really good stuff coming on our social media platforms, so you guys can go and check that out also. But make sure to head on over to Fourth Arrow and check it out. And Joe, we appreciate it. We appreciate you jumping on. I know you're a busy man and everything like that. And for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.